Hello. Hello, everyone. Hey. My name is Daniel de Andrade. I'm a Migration Partner Solutions Architect from Brazil. I'm working at AWS for 1.5 years, more or less. And all this time supporting partners to get the right knowledge to migrate customers' workloads to AWS.
I'm Eric Pena. I'm also a Migrations Partner Solutions Architect based in Dallas. I've been with the company for 4.5 years. And we are here today to talk about TCO. Has anyone done a TCO here before? For their customers? Yeah, lots of hands. Was it fun? Not necessarily, I guess, but we are here to show some tricks, some ways to expedite this process for you.
Yeah.
And let's see what we're going to cover. So we're going to talk about the TCO real quick, set the stage for the main tool that we are talking about. It's the Migration Portfolio Assessment. Then we're going to show how to integrate with other tools that we offer for you. And also, in the end, we have some demos here to show you how to do it. So we hope you take away a new trick or two back home. All right, so what's TCO, right? Probably tax credit office. Is this the right slide?
Yeah, probably not this.
It's not this one, right? We should have other names here. But anyway, we're not here to talk about the Tobacco Control Office. We are here to talk probably about TCO, right? The total cost of ownership. So that's the main topic today. It's not just about servers, right? Most people sometimes they think about, oh, I have to compare the cost from on-premises with AWS. Let's just take the server cost, multiply that, and we get a number of instances. It's much more than that, right? We have to take into consideration the people, licensing, you have facility costs, networking costs, storage costs, so there are other aspects as well that you should take into consideration. But what are the goals of a TCO? So you want to help your customer move to the cloud, right? So the idea here is to compare the current state, on-premises state, or maybe a colocation state with the AWS. We also want to do an apples-to-apples comparison. So like I said, not only servers, let's take a look at the whole picture and do a fair comparison. Because if you're just taking a bare metal server and compare that to an EC2 instance, there are much more behind that, right? You have the facilities cost, air conditioning, power, you have the networking infrastructure, so we have to go beyond the server price. We also want to understand the why. Why is the customer migrating? Normally, this is a technical discussion, but you also have to take a look at the business reasons. Why are they migrating? Are they exiting the data center? Do they want to enhance their security posture or their resilience for their application? So we need to understand why they are moving to AWS. And we need to help the customer reach an informed decision. We want what's best for the customer, so we want the customer to be successful in this transition to the cloud. So what makes a good TCO analysis? Well, we have the infrastructure to begin with. It's an ideal place to start would be around the servers. So filter out the servers that you don't want to bring to the cloud. Normally, you identify there are lots of zombie servers. You have servers that are just turned on. They're not doing actual work. Maybe you have some DR servers there that you don't want in the cloud. You discover some temporary servers that still exist for some reason. So normally, you want to do this exercise for hundreds of servers. The more servers you got, the better the TCO will look like. You also want to take into consideration the architectural design for the workloads. Are you moving everything to AWS, or are you leaving something behind? If you are leaving part of the application behind, probably you have to think about direct connect and edge computing. So we need to take that into consideration for our TCO analysis. Make sure you're using the latest and greatest features. There are a bunch of new announcements here at re:Invent, so make sure you are using the latest type of instances, but also the latest type of processors. We have Graviton processors. It's a very nice way to make your TCO look good, and you can also take into consideration the storage costs. So we are always releasing new types of storage, and it's not only SSD. Sometimes you have other types of needs that your customer might have. Do the right sizing. So when you use a tool, the tool is going to collect the right consumption of CPU, memory, networking, and storage resources. Those informations, they are super important for reaching the right sizing. And the tools that we are going to show today, they help expedite this process of getting this right sizing information for you. We also think about the right pricing. So if you have like development or temporary servers, maybe on-demand is the right price model for them. If you have production environment, probably you have savings plan that you can apply to those servers, or maybe reserved instances. So it's nice to entertain these possibilities, but also spot instances. So it's ideal to talk to the customer about the workload. Maybe we can move some stuff to spot instance and have a very nice TCO. And another couple of things to take into consideration, we have licensing costs. So probably your customer already has some licensing for operating systems or database on premises. So you want to bring that to the cloud. Are we going to use the customer's licenses, or are we going to use AWS licensing available with the instances? So you have to take that into consideration. What we are going to show you today, you can create different scenarios, so you can compare those two scenarios real easily. And we also have, for the partners that possess the migration competency, we have the Migration Acceleration Program, which offers, among other things, funding, so it can help also your TCO discussion with the customers. But the most important thing is the tooling, right? So we want to talk about the tooling that will help you get to this TCO real quick. So the first tool, this is the main star of the show, is the Migration Portfolio Assessment, MPA. So every time you hear me talking MPA, this is what we are talking about, the Migration Portfolio Assessment. This is a tool that you want to use when you are a partner or you are AWS employees. Are there any customers in the room today, or is everybody partners? Okay, for the customers in the room, thank you so much for taking interest in our session. I'm sure the person sitting next to you is a partner that has the migration competency, so reach out to those partners to help you provide this business case and TCO analysis for you. But you want to do that in the early stages of your migration journey. So we call the assess phase, right? So when you're doing the initial discovery with the tooling that we are going to show, you can also take the advantage and leverage the power of MPA to get those TCO calculations for you expedited. We also can use the same tool, the MPA. You start doing assess, and when you move to mobilize, you can still use the same tool. So the idea is to have the knowledge and all the information that we collected in the assess phase. We can build upon that, and we can add more details for the planning of this migration. So you're going to use the same tool for both phases. And some of the features, you can do some cleanup. Sometimes you get duplicates or you get incomplete information, and the MPA is going to help you identify that. You also have scenarios comparison. So we want to sometimes show 2, 3 different scenarios for the customer. It's often common. The common asks for a different scenario. We can build that as well. The tool is has lots of information that our cloud economic teams provide. So every time we do this kind of exercise for our customers, they feedback information into the tool, so we always have benchmark information that's up to date. You can also use the tool to define the strategy, the better of the 7 Rs that are available to you: rehost, replatform, refactor. So you can use those and document those using MPA and create your wave planning as well. So it can help you distribute the workloads and create a schedule planning for you. So project managers, they really like this feature. And the last thing is application prioritization. You can define the order. Maybe you want to start with the QA servers and then move to the production servers, and the tool is going to help you define that order. All right, but what we are going to do here today, we're going to show you a workflow that can help you expedite the TCO creation. So the first thing, you need to discover stuff. You can use AWS tooling or third-party tooling from our partners, but once you discover that, you need to import the data into MPA. So we are going to show you a couple different ways of doing this, right, Daniel?
Yep.
And we have also the data normalization. We're going to show you how to clean up the data and get the best level of information that will affect your TCO in the end. Then the MPA is going to help us visualize the data, visualize the collection of this data, and in the end, you get a TCO real quick. So the idea is to expedite the process for you, let the tool do the calculations and the hard work, right? But we need to collect data, and we need some tools to collect data, right? And to pass the data to MPA. So my friend Daniel here is going to show a couple of tools.
Yeah, thank you, Erico. And let's start with the AWS native services, such as AWS Migration Hub and Application Discovery Service. Migration Hub, it's our native service. It's actually a one-stop shop for migration services at AWS, where you can find discovery tools such as the Application Discovery Service itself, and then you can have access to data collected with Migration Evaluator. You can have access also to analyzing dependency feature based on network interdependencies. So depending on the tool that you discover the environment, you can get network connections information that will be used to plot an architecture diagram based on those connections. We can also get recommendations from the feature strategy recommendations in the Migration Hub. Those recommendations are based also in the 7 Rs, so it's aligned with the MPA feature. For large migrations, we have Migration Hub Orchestrator that can automate some processes for large-scale migrations. And also for those who are modernizing your environment, we have the refactor spaces feature that help us to create and manage AWS infrastructure. Meanwhile, the new applications need to integrate with the existing ones. So refactor spaces help us on that. And also Migration Hub can track migration server and database migrations performed by MGN, Application Migration Service, and also Database Migration Services. Migration Hub is available in these regions, but this means that the data used and collected by the tools are hosted in these regions. But the Migration Hub is actually accessible globally. So I'm from Brazil. I'm supporting partners migrating workloads in Brazil, and they can use Migration Hub without any other issues. And regarding costs, Migration Hub has no cost for discovering and managing migrations. Basically, the features that we are going to show today, refactor spaces instead has some additional costs, but we are not going to cover this today. And to get the data into a Migration Hub, we can leverage Application Discovery Service. So it's the native feature to get information from source environment and then move this data and this information to Migration Hub. And we can do this using 3 methods. Agent-based, so we need to install an agent in each x86 servers. For VMware environments, we can leverage agentless collector, so we can connect and integrate the collector with the VMware vCenter, and then get the information from the vCenter directly without requiring installing agents in each virtual machine. And we can also have the option to import a spreadsheet or external database. For example, a dump CMDB, so we can import them. This data flows to a migration hub in all the ways we encrypt that data. And once in migration hub, we can visualize data, we can add tagging to manage, and also we can integrate with MPA because the data will flow from Migration Hub to MPA. And how we do that? First of all, we need to create an IAM user to install and set up the ADS, the Application Discovery Service collection method. So we have to choose if we are going to collect with agent or agentless collector, and then associate the right policy for that user. We need to get the access key, secret key, because we are going to use that to install the agentless or agent collector, and then we install, we deploy the agent or agentless collector and start collecting data. But to integrate with MPA, we need to create another IAM user with those actions allowed, the describe configurations and list configurations. Those policies, those rules, will allow the MPA to get data from Migration Hub and publish into MPA. And why we need to create another user? The least privilege concept. So we need to keep only the privileges that we need to perform the actions. We need to get also the access key and secret key for this, and then import the data, just like we are going to show you now.
All right. So let's show how to install an agent here.
Yeah. First of all, let's go to, well, I can see here. So under Discovery section, we have tools, the tools site. And then from there, we can get all the Discovery methods. So we can download the agentless collector, we can see the commands for the agent installation, and so on. So Erico will show us, clicking over there, we will have all the commands to install, download, and deploy the agent collector. And over there, we can include the access key and the secret key that we created for the ADS user that I mentioned before. We are not going to install an agent and start collection in order to save time, but that's how we would install an agent. And Erico, if you could please go to the IAM console, sorry, sure. Just to show you the users that we have been created. So here in the ADS, is the ADS user we created. As we can see, those policies that I showed before are AWS managed policies. So AWS already created that policy to provide you only the access that you need to collect data. So you are not opening any other actions allowed to the agent. The other user, the MPA user that Erico will show us now, is the user that we created to get data from Migration Hub into MPA. So we created that user, we created a custom policy in this case, and added only those two actions to list and describe the configurations, because the MPA will call this API and get all the information that we need. So once we create this information, these users, we can go to Migration Hub. So in Migration Hub, we already have some servers here, at least 204 servers, if I'm not wrong. And here are the servers, and this data is hosted in the home region that we set before. And these are all the servers that we collected. You see that we have some import server and some from agents. So we have a mix of imported servers from spreadsheet and some collected data from agents. And this server that Erico will click is an example of the information that we can get from the agents, the AWS ADS agent. So we have all the details about the information. We have some performance information that covers CPU utilization, memory utilization, and all this kind of information that we are going to use to right size and right price the environment. And clicking in the network tab, we can see the network interconnection for this server. So as we can see here, the orange server is the server that we have selected. We have all the other connections that we have in this server. So we have the blue one, that's this other server that has an agent, so they are communicating through the ports. So we can get the ports that we're communicating, so we can get a guess about what services are being used between those servers. And we have all the other servers with question marks that doesn't have any agent. So we know that this server is connected to the other ones, but we don't know exactly what is the other ones. It can be a server, can be a service, or else. But this is a strong tool to plan your migration, because with this visualization, we can try to match grouping applications and then build your migration waves.
And you can discover that the server is talking to some unknown people.
That server that's under the table from someone, we can see them here.
Yeah, and the ports here will help you plan your security groups during the next phase, so pretty useful.
Well, so after analyzing and understanding the environment, we can send this information to MPA and then start working with TCO, right? Because we are here to talk about TCO. So we are now here in the Migration Portfolio Assessment console. So we are going to create another portfolio. We set with no data because we are going to import data. For real cases, we need to set customer data and then select the data of your customer or eventually create a new one. But for demo purposes, we are going to select test. Let's create the portfolio. And once the portfolio is created, we can go to import section and then select import from ADS. Down there, we have the options to import, to include the fields to include access key that we created for that ADS user, the secret key, and then the home region that we selected back there in Migration Hub, because it will get, the data will flow within the same region. That's why we need to set up this home region. And then the data will flow to the MPA. And then we can start working over there. But right now, we are going to show you another way to import data, the spreadsheet. Yeah. Who never had to work with a spreadsheet from an RFP and then come up with a TCO analysis? So spreadsheet is an important feature also. And it's pretty straightforward. We need to get the data, import into MPA, and then map the spreadsheet headers with the MPA schema. We are going to show you right now in a few moments, because we are going to talk about Migration Evaluator, because the importation, it's pretty the same. So Migration Evaluator, it's an agentless collector provided by AWS at no charge for partners and customers. And since I just told you, it is an agentless collector. So you don't have to install agents, a bunch of agents in a bunch of servers. We deploy only one server with the collector, and then the collector starts getting the information from VMware connecting with the vCenter, Hyper-V connecting from the Hyper-V hosts, and even bare metal. Bare metal servers, we can get data using WMI or SNMP protocols. It's a very strong feature because without installing agents, we can get all the data, including the network connections to generate that diagram that we mentioned before, the interconnections diagram. And for SQL servers, we can get further information using TCO protocol. So there's a lot of benefits getting data also from Migration Evaluator. And to integrate it with MPA, we just need to go to the Migration Evaluator console that you will have access once you ask for a request for this engagement. You select your engagement, you will be able to download details. So you will click in a button, download details. The file will be in MPA format, and then import into MPA, start working in your TCO. And that's what we are going to show you now. We are just under, nice. Well, we have our Migration Evaluator console right here. Let's go to Migration Console. Okay, yeah. This is the Migration Hub console. So whenever you ask for a request, you will have access to Migration Evaluator console. You will have this screen. You will select your engagement. Once the data is already collected, because you will have some support to know if the data is collecting and we have enough data to do that. But after that, once the data is collected, we can go here, and if we click in Download Summary, there will be a PDF with overall information. It's not a TCO analysis, it's only an overview. But what we are going to show you now is how to download the right file to input in the MPA. And so clicking in Download Details, we have this option for use with MPA. This is important because when we do that, the spreadsheets, the CSV files that we are going to download are already in the MPA schema. So it will save a lot of time for data normalization, just like we are going to show you an example. Right, Eriko?
Yes.
Yeah. So moving back to Migration Portfolio Assessment, we have here a portfolio assessment that already has data imported. But just to show you how you're going to import data, let's go to Import from File option and select Servers, because as you can see, we have a lot of data types. So Migration Evaluator will generate a CSV file for server, another one for application, and it will depend on the information that we get from the environment. So if we get only basic information, you probably will get only server and database CSV, but if we can get further information, there will be more CSV files, and we need to import all of them. So when we select server, upload local file, select a file, and we can also select the right sheet in your spreadsheet, and then select next. And this is the important part. And this is the important part. Also, if you are uploading a spreadsheet from other provider, you need to map the MPA schema that is in the left side with the spreadsheet headers. So we need to understand what is server ID, what's host name, what's CPU core, CPU threads. We have all these options into the MPA schema, and we need to match the information that is coming for the tool. So once we review and select all the correct schemas, we can go click next, and then we can review if the format is good, because once we click next again, the data will be in our inventory, and we can start working within. We are not going to do that because we already have a bunch of servers imported. So we can see the servers in the assets section. So as you can see, we have 200 servers, and now we start the good part of the TCO analysis, the starting phase, which is data normalization. When we import from wherever we get data, we need to confirm that that information is right. So in our case here, we have 2 servers that show it up that information is a bit strange. It's not passing the validation rule. So the tool has a bunch of validation rules that are built in and provided by our previous experience. This tool has been developed by AWS ProServe team. So many of those rules are already in place based on our experience. In this case, we have two servers that the information that is a bit strange, it's high important to TCO analysis. In our case, we are talking about CPU threads. So if we don't correct that, we can miss an opportunity to right-size the licensing, right-size the instances. So that's why we have a red flag in the TCO, because CPU information has high relevance for our TCO analysis. And we can click in the filter icon, and then it will show us only the 2 servers that need to be corrected. When we click on those servers, we can select all of them, and then click in edit. As we could see, the field with error is CPU threads. So we select CPU threads, select 1, because this is the right answer for our case, and then refresh. And voila, voila. We have all the servers passed in our validation rules. So after doing this normalization, which is very important to confirming that the data is right, we can move ahead and start visualizing our data, understanding our environment. And for doing that, we go to the dashboard section. This dashboard that we are presenting is the off-the-shelf dashboard that MPA bring to us. So there are several charts bringing us all the most important information: count of servers, CPU utilization, memory utilization. If we have interdependency, application groups, all this information could be shown down here. So those are off the shelf, but we can also change some of those charts. So if we click in Actions, Edit, we can change the existing chart, just like Erico is doing now. And we can also add new charts into a dashboard. So up there in the right-hand side, we can add additional charts to our dashboard, and also we can create additional dashboards. So it's a complete data visualization solution into MPA. And after we understood the environment, we know what we are seeing, we know what we are going to choose for our environment, we can start working actually in the TCO analysis. So we can go in the section TCO, option summary, and then we already have a TCO estimation. So in a couple of minutes, we can get the on-premise costs, AWS costs, and the estimated savings that we are going to have, in this case, migrating to AWS. And from where this data came? From a bunch of assumptions that we have already built in the tool. So clicking in Modify Assumptions, for example, we can have access to all those assumptions. And the first one, for example, the general one, is where we set which region we are going to run our environment, how long will be the analysis, for example, for 5 years. In our case, we are set here in 5 years. The other assumptions that we have here are based for the cost, actually. For example, for server recommendations, we can go there and select to not recommend any T instance, any burstable instances. We can set other rules as well. We can set some percentage of utilization and buffers and so on. And also we have assumptions for on-premises costs. So when we go down there, we have on-premises costs based on facilities. Oh, on-premises power, Erico, please. Yeah, if we have the information about the power consumption of the customer, we can add here the information, and there's a lot of other assumptions that we can include here to set up the costs according to your use case, right? And Erico now is going to show you how to work with the scenarios, going deeper in the assumptions, and how to work with MPA.
All right, my pleasure. So we already have a pretty good TCO here that Daniel created. 5 years, moving to North Virginia, but maybe we can do better. Let's see. So let's change some of the assumptions here. The first thing I want to do here is create a new scenario, a new assessment is what we call here. So you can come here and create a new assessment. So this one is going to be called Assessment 2, because I'm really creative. And then you can go here, you can copy the assumptions from the previous case, or you can start all over using the default assumptions. But I want to copy Daniel's scenario, so Assessment 1. Now, as you can see, we will have 2 different scenarios here, Assessment 1 and Assessment 2. So right now, they are pretty much the same because it's still 64% of savings. So I have both scenarios here, but my customer asked me not only for the 5-year scenario, the customer also wants the 3-year scenario. So you can come here to the modify assumption and general, and let's change here to 3 years. Great. Apply. And let's see how does this look. $66, okay, a minor enhancement. If I scroll down here, you can see that we have a breakdown for computing, database, networking, storage costs. So the more information you provide MPA, the better is going to be your results, and the more assumptions you can customize. So remember when Daniel was talking about the import from file, imagine that you are using a third-party tool. You can get this information in spreadsheet mode and import. So make sure you import the databases, you import the application, and also the relationship if the tool collected that, okay? So it's really important. It's going to affect your TCO, and it's going to make the wave planning easier later. Another thing that I want to show you here, we have the TCO, but you can see it also does propose some SQL optimizations. We even have RDS recommendations. Let's check that out. But, oh, I don't have any recommendations here. So let's turn this on. If I go to the modify assumptions, database recommendations, let's enable the RDS recommendations real quick. And now we have a different TCO here being applied for me. This is the 1 year, 5 years, sorry. And here we have the assessment number 2. It's a different story. different assessment. Let's enable for this one as well.
Yeah.
Enable RDS, apply.
And these recommendations will be based on the information that you uploaded in the tool.
Yeah.
So, that's why it's so important that Eric mentioned. So if we showed the tool that we have databases and licensing, versioning, we will get better recommendations just like that.
Yeah. And the RDS recommendations, you can see what type of instances you're going to need for these 14 servers, CPU, memory, but also the database type engine. So it's taking into the consideration the licensing that you have behind that. So this may be a good opportunity to talk with your customer. How about we move to Amazon Aurora, DynamoDB, those type of discussions can be supported by this. So whenever you are ready, you changed all your assumptions. Maybe you want to compare scenario 1 and 2 before talking to your customer. You can come here to Actions, Compare Assessments, and you can ask the tool to only show you the differences. So it's going to be highlighted here. So the left side is 3 years, the right side is 5 years. So you have here the breakdown of costs for the AWS and also on-premises. So now I've made my mind. I like both scenarios. I like the 3-year scenario better. That's the way the customer want to go. You can download here, hit download, and you're going to get this spreadsheet generated for you with all the details that MPA calculated.
Yeah, so there are no hidden cross or ways. When you download the file, you will get all the background data used to create your TCO analysis.
Yeah, you can see it exports the graphics and the breakdown for AWS, the current environment. So the more information you provide, if you get to that level, how many dollars the customer pays for kilowatt, or if you know how much they pay for their licensing, sometimes you know how much they are paying for their Windows database licensing, it's going to help your discussion, and it's going to help your TCO be better.
Yeah.
All right.
For sure.
Cool. Let's go back here. Okay, that was simple. So as you can see, in a matter of minutes, we were able to create 2 different scenarios, change some of the assumptions. You have AWS assumptions, and you also have on-premises assumptions that you can tweak and make it your own.
Yeah, and sorry, Erico, but the on-premise assumptions are those that Erico mentioned. They are based on AWS Cloud Economics. So our Cloud Economics team are constantly working in assessments, and they provide feedback and enhance those assumptions. So
yeah, exactly. So we are reaching the end here of our presentation, but we want to leave you with a couple of interesting places to follow up after this session. The first one is the Immersion Day, the Migration Immersion Day. It's available for free. You can use your own AWS account, or you can ask your AWS team to create an event for you and create an Immersion Day for you and your customers. So the idea in the Migration Immersion Day, you have MPA lab. So you get guided information like instructions with screenshots where you can replicate the steps that we shown here today. You also have other tools that you can practice. You have the Application Discovery Service, Discovery, agent installation, and data collection. So you can practice that as well as part of the Migration Immersion Day. The Migration Immersion Day also offers the next stage. So after you've done your discovery and the TCO, you might want to migrate the actual workload, right? So it also contains labs for application migration service and database migration service. So you can learn and practice how to use those two tools. Everything with screenshots, instructions, so it's a quick way to exercise. And we also leave you here with the two discovery tools that integrate with MPA, Application Discovery Service, and also Migration Evaluator.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for coming, and we hope you enjoyed the session. Please leave your feedback in the survey. We appreciate your time here and spending your lunch with us. Thank you so much.